All right, let's go to our movie review with Rita Cinema. We got another big, major motion picture, Wonder Woman 84, to review today on the hybrid release, HBO Max, and out in the movie theaters. So, what did we make of Wonder Woman 84, the sequel to Wonder Woman?
Well, I'll just start out by saying I liked it, and let me just say a few more things to illustrate that a little more. Frankly, it hasn't been such a great year, and unfortunately, until we all have access to the COVID vaccine, 2021 is going to continue to have a certain amount of fear and uncertainty for all of us, and just follow us around until we can all get better next year. Thankfully, there have been some things that have saved us. One is, I'd say, technology. We do have access to things such as texting and Facebook and Zoom. And think about those people who lived through the 1980 flu pandemic. They didn't have any of that. We've had delivery of just about anything you want. You want it, it can be delivered. And we have had entertainment via our computers and TVs. Specifically sports, movies, original TV content. And what could be better than getting the gift of Wonder Woman on Christmas Day? We waited all year for the opportunity to see this film. Actually, we've been waiting a couple of years since the first one came out, 3 years, I believe. Was it 3 or 2? 3, yeah, 2017, I think. Well, I was ready. I think we turned it on at noon when it was ready to go. It's hard for me not to like Wonder Woman, and you won't get much negative from me about this movie or the first one. I would say that Wonder Woman as a character and superhero makes even a 70-year-old woman feel empowered. That woman is great. I just love seeing a strong, smart woman of strong character, and yes, beautiful too, saving the world. What female, young or old, wouldn't love that? And I really enjoyed the first Wonder Woman movie and highly anticipated this one. I did have to watch it twice. I was a little unsure after the first watch, just whether I liked it or not. I mean, I knew I liked it, but I had some doubts about it. But I watched it again, and I enjoyed it so much more the second time, and it made me really anxious to see a third movie, which I have read is going to be made. They are going to make another one. I think
will make it until Gal Gadot gets old.
Says no.
Or Patty Jenkins continues to run her mouth slamming Warner Brothers.
Well, and Warner Brothers, I think you can't be guaranteed because, we don't know what's going to happen with movies in the next 2 or 3 years. And but they have said there will be a third Wonder Woman. They haven't promised anything beyond that. And I think when I watched it the second time, I will say I heard more. There were some messages you had to pick up on and connections you had to make. And I think the second time I heard and saw those a little bit better than, because I already knew what the story was going to be. And so I got it better the second time. And the funny thing is, as I said, it's a bit long. I think it's a little too long. But the length of it didn't bother me as much the second time I watched it for some reason. I can't explain that. So that's kind of my initial reaction to Wonder Woman. I can give a review of the story a little bit if you want me to go on, or if you want to say something here, I'll turn it back to you.
No, I enjoyed it. I did not enjoy it as much as the first Wonder Woman. I thought the first Wonder Woman had a better character development. I did not think the villains were developed properly in this one, as was the first one. I thought the villains were much better, and it's a little sad considering Maxwell Lord and Cheetah are two the main villains in the DC universe, Cheetah being Wonder Woman's main foil, which I was a little disappointed in her screen time. I
actually thought they developed that character fairly well.
Yes, but they had one fight.
They had 2 fights.
But she was a cheetah, and she was still right. Barbara.
Well, maybe that's in the 4th or 5th movie.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I could
can't get it all in one movie.
I could understand and accept if Cheetah's going to have a bigger role in further movies down
Yeah.
the road. If she has not,
because they did leave us pretty much
Yes.
hanging with Cheetah.
I would be very disappointed because Cheetah is one of the best Wonder Woman villains, if not the best Wonder Woman villain, and one of the best villains in the DC universe. So,
oh, well, I didn't know that. You had to tell me that. I will say that I love Wonder Woman, but I have never really followed DC Comics. I do watch some of the movies, and I understand about superhero action movies, but I don't know all the details about some of the characters. At least, for at least some of the DC characters. So let me give a little background on the story, although I'm not going to be a spoiler on this one. I don't want to tell the whole story because I think it's important to enjoying the movie to see what happens. So anyway, of course, it's Wonder Woman 84. So we have moved into the 80s, 1980s, and we have Diana, played by Gal Gadot, of course, pursuing her career as a cultural anthropologist at the Smithsonian, but also saving lives and preventing chaos as her alter ego Wonder Woman. And that's her life. She's a little bit lonely because, of course, she misses Steve, who she lost, the love of her life, who she lost in the first movie. So it starts with a robbery of a jewelry store in a mall. And the store is a front for moving stolen ancient artifacts and art. It's a secret that I guess some criminals know, but the world just sees it as a jewelry store in the mall. So once the robbers are caught, and they are by Wonder Woman, by the way, the object, this artifact, this ancient artifact, which is a stone, ends up at the Smithsonian, and the FBI wants to talk with one of the other scientists there, Barbara Minerva, and this is played by Kristen Wiig, about what this thing is. So we're introduced to Max Lord, who is played by Pedro Pascal. I'm giving a very small intro to this movie. There's a lot more details in it. Who wants this object in order to give him power and success and basically control of the world. He is our bad guy in this movie, and as you said, is one of the characters that goes on in the DC comic world of Wonder Woman. Eventually, we find out that the object itself, this stone, grants wishes. You can make a wish and your wish will come true, but in return, it takes something of value from the individual. So if I make a wish, I lose something to the stone. Eventually, we have our lead characters all making a wish. Diana touches it and wishes to have her true love, Steve, come back alive and be back in her life. Barbara wishes it, and I didn't describe Barbara very well, but she's a really, Diana makes friends with her, but they work together at the Smithsonian, but she's this kind of mousy, quiet, clumsy, oafish woman. That's the best way I can think to describe it. And, nobody ever pays any attention to her, and guys don't like her, and, she's always picked on. So anyway, the object, she wishes for, Barbara wishes to be beautiful, sexy, and powerful like Diana. And Max Lord wishes to be, he wants to be the Dreamstone, as you call it. He wants to turn into it so that he can grant wishes, but at the same time, take something of value from each person who wishes. It took me a little bit to get that, I have to say. And that's part of what I did better watching it the second time. I picked up on some of that a little bit better. But Max Lord, he will accumulate wealth and power by virtue of gaining something of value from people of power. And one of them is the president, and he goes all over an oil baron and all over the world, granting wishes, but also taking something away that he keeps himself. Now, most of these wishes are really bad for the world, and chaos ensues, of course. Diana starts to lose her powers after, I mean, Steve comes back. We have her love comes back into her life, but she begins to lose her powers and her strength as Wonder Woman. Barbara becomes sexy and fierce and, a beautiful woman who can hold power over people too but she loses her good-natured innocence and kindness. She's not a kind and nice person anymore. And Max, who loses his health and possibly his son, who he does love dearly. So the world is facing collapse. And these three individuals, they do find out that if you renounce your wish, things can go back to normal. So these three individuals have to make this crucial decision of whether they renounce their wish. It's the only way to bring the world back to normal. Now, that's all I'm going to say because, as I say, I think it's really important to the story that you not know exactly what happens. You can probably guess some things, but I will say that after I thought about this movie a little bit, and again, after I watched it 2 times, I think that I guess this is the way it is with most of the DC comics and the superheroes. There's a message in there, and I think that at the heart of this story is this question of ethics and character. And just as Diana was forced the hard way when she was a child in the opening scene of the movie, which, by the way, I thought was great. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. She had to learn a lesson as a child about truth and living life the right way and making the right decisions, not just for her, but for everyone, for humankind. So in this movie, she is faced with that and the consequences of her decisions. It's also, I think, a very good story for our times in that it presents the danger of spreading lies and misinformation and living a life of self-indulgence. You see what happens to the characters who do this. And it does seem to be somewhat applicable to some of what happened in our world today. We might need Wonder Woman pretty soon to save our world. And by showing how when you value power and wealth over truth and kindness, it's a bad direction to go to in our world. So that's kind of my overview of what the story is. I have some observations about the things I liked and didn't like, but go ahead.
All right. Well, I was going to say the opening sequence when they're doing the sort of Olympic Games, I thought that was possibly the best action sequence in the whole thing, though. The part where Maxwell Lord, that's where he comes to regret this. And if anyone knows the Maxwell Lord character, he's essentially possibly a worse Lex Luthor. So that's where they made him sort of a
sympathetic character.
No, just a sniveling wimpy. He wanted wealth, but he sort of snaked his way, whereas Maxwell Lord has always been a genius and a cutthroat businessman where he would basically not wish, he would just go that way and cut your throat, where this guy was sort of a 80s salesman of,
snake oil.
Yes, 80s snake oil salesman, running infomercials to get rich, and,
he found an easier way.
Buy his oil reserves, whereas the real Maxwell, there are sort of 2 or 3 different versions in the DC universe of the Maxwell Lord. They chose one that didn't have powers. There's also a version where he does have powers and has mind control.
Yeah. Well, I think there might be more, though, because when I watched it the second time, I did pick up on the fact that when, he came back, he was talking to his son at the end there, and he had come back. He still mentioned how he wanted to have power and be a great success for his son. So I thought there's more to come on this.
Well, that's what I'm hoping.
This little moment of being nice isn't going to hold.
That it's a long-term play, because that's what Maxwell Lord, much like Lex Luthor, is a long-term villain that is sort of behind the scenes, power brokering, the villain. They aren't, there's no way Maxwell Lord can compete with Wonder Woman, who is essentially a goddess. He would lose every time if they got in a fight. So he has to use his brain and manipulate circumstances. And that's where I thought they put Maxwell Lord too far in front, where I thought they should have put him more in the background, put Cheetah out front and have them sort of dueling, where they sort of, Cheetah was the background villain here, and Maxwell Lord was more the front villain. That's where I thought they sort of missed on this.
They had some interaction between the two of them when Barbara was Barbara, but not a lot.
But that would be the thing. Like Maxwell Lord would use Cheetah to,
I think that's
distract Wonder Woman, and then Maxwell Lord would gain his power and stuff.
But I felt like we only got the very tip of the iceberg on the Cheetah story.
That's what I'm hoping.
I think there's a lot more to go there, because she was left kind of hanging at the end.
There's more in-depth Cheetah battles, because there are a lot of great storylines.
Kristen Wiig probably hopes there is too.
I'm sure she does.
Okay, well, let me just say, I have a few other observations that I'd like to say about the movie. I agree. I really loved that opening scene with Diana as a small child. She's a small child in a highly demanding physical race with grown women, an Olympic style race, which I thought was just, I don't know. I thought it was mesmerizing, just beautifully done the way they put that together. Riding those, particularly when they were riding those horses, and when they, I don't know, just shooting the bows and arrows. I just thought it was great. But you can see her determination and her consumption with winning. But she takes this shortcut in order to come in first, and she's denied victory because she cheated. And this is a lesson from the aunt, who is played by, I think that's her aunt. It's played by Robin Wright Penn. Well, no, she goes by Robin Wright now.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Anyway, and she says, you don't take the easy way to win just to make yourself happy. Do the right thing. And the thing is, that's one of the things in the first watching of the movie, that didn't make a huge impression on me. But the second it did, because I realized the story's going to come back around where she has to make a decision like that. Where she has to make a decision for the good of all, as opposed to making herself happy, and she has to do the right thing. So this comes back to us toward the end of the movie when Diana has to make this difficult decision. I actually thought Kristen Wiig was perfect for the character.
I agree.
Of Barbara Minerva.
That's probably why I wanted more Cheetah, because I actually,
she was good.
I enjoyed her character more than
because she was so good at playing. First of all, she's great at playing this mousy, clumsy, sweet, kind of person, but she turned herself into a really strong, sexy character too, and you could see her grow with it. I thought they did that really well, because gradually she grew from.
I thought that's what I enjoyed. That's what I wanted.
You wanted more of that.
I wanted more of that, and Maxwell Lord in the background manipulating things.
Yeah.
More than Maxwell Lord in the foreground.
But she manipulated him a tad too, so it was an interesting pairing. There's only one thing I didn't like about Cheetah, and maybe this was just me, but I didn't, at the end where she was made up to be the Cheetah, I didn't like the costume and the makeup. I thought it looked like a Halloween costume, and her makeup was drawn on or something.
Well, no, it just seemed
essentially
wimpy. It was all CGI.
Well, I know it was, but I thought they could have made it so much better. Oh, I knew it was CGI. I mean, obviously, it wasn't a costume that she put on, but I'm just using that to represent. I just thought she could have looked so much more fierce and, I don't know, big and strong and fast. And I just thought it could have been done a little better. It just wasn't convincing for me that she was this powerful Cheetah. I have to say, while I liked Pedro Pascal, I mean, it's hard for me not to think of him as the Mandalorian now, but while although I know he's played several roles, and I liked him, there were moments where he was really good, but I don't know, maybe I don't know the character. Maybe I don't know the character of Maxwell Lord well enough to know, was he a perfect fit for that? I didn't get the same feeling I got with Kristen Wiig and, of course, Gal Gadot.
I thought he played the part well. I
He
don't
acted
think
well.
it was acting. I think that was more script doing wise. They wanted him a little more 80s smarmy than what
Well,
the
he
true
was definitely 80s smarmy.
the true Maxwell Lord character is.
We've got our Cheeto over here.
Yes, I know.
It's our dog. Anyway, I didn't buy him 100%, but I didn't dislike him. I thought he did a good acting job.
I thought he took what was supposed to be played with there. I just didn't like the interpretation of Maxwell Lord in this.
I actually thought the battle action scenes were good. You didn't seem to like them.
No,
that much.
I enjoyed the one where they're in the truck sequence. I thought
and
that
you can see Diana has starting to lose some of her power. So there was
and I actually enjoyed the White House one. The
White House one
the closing one
good.
was the one that I
you didn't like that.
I thought it was too quick on the cheetah fight.
Yeah.
It was throw, and then, underwater. And then you don't even get a sort of Maxwell Lord one.
Well, the movie was so darn long. If they'd made that longer, they might have made that bit. But see, that all tied in with the fact that I didn't think they made Cheetah look fierce enough or something. I just didn't buy her costume. But I'll tell you the costume I did buy. That gold armor that she puts on at the end, that is Asteria's armor. When Wonder Woman comes out in that, man, I'm intimidated. I can tell you, I want that armor. I loved that. Maybe it was just me, but the appearance of the gold armor of Asteria is just so powerful. And Gal Gadot, she is a wonderful Wonder Woman. I mean, I don't think you could find anyone better. Pardon me, Linda Carter, but I think Gal Gadot is just fabulous in this role. I think she pulled off the action scenes well, just as she did in the first movie. And that battle scene in the gold armor, I mean, it may not have been fierce enough for you or, enough exchange, but I thought she looked very intimidating in that armor.
I enjoyed what I got. I wanted more Cheetah, and hopefully that's more to come. And I enjoyed the score, as always. Hans Zimmer has done all these
that was
WB
good.
ones, and once again it was on point as
it was, and
is.
It doesn't overshadow the action. It melds nicely with the action. The other thing I think is to mention is that Wonder Woman finds another of her powers in this woman, and that is flying. She didn't fly. I read a little I couldn't remember, and I would have to go back and see the first one.
No,
but she did not fly in that first one. She would launch herself, and I mean, she'd go up in the air and stay up in the air for a long time. But in this one, she flies. She learns to fly, which I just loved it, and I love the flying scenes. And basically, she learns to fly from Steve. He's piloting in a plane, and he tells her it's easy, that flying is easy. It's just basically, using the wind and the air currents. So she, she thinks about this, and she uses the wind and the air currents, and she starts out kind of, slow and testing it and everything. But by the end, she just takes off. And so I was really excited about, her being empowered to fly.
Yeah. And we also got an invisible jet scene, which is always fun.
Oh, that was cool. I forgot about that. That invisible jet. That was actually, they still was, interjected some humor here and there too, when they're dressing Steve in the 80s clothes, and it's just so obnoxious. And when they're, when she makes the plane invisible, and she said, he kind of asked her if she's tried this before, and she said, well, I was working on a coffee cup, which I made invisible, but then I lost it. So then she makes the plane invisible. Anyway, that's sort of my overview of my thoughts on the movie.
Yeah. All right. So where did we go rating wise on Wonder Woman 84?
I do want to say again that I don't think anyone can play Wonder Woman Diana any better than Gal Gadot. I do like her so much. I just love watching her. And I can't decide if I want to be Wonder Woman or I really want to be Gal Gadot. Anyway, I like the character and I like
she's
her.
going to be Cleopatra next.
Oh, so. Yes, I know. I can't wait. Although I know the Egyptians are upset.
No, white people are upset because that's what they like to do.
I think you know, she's Israeli and it's not hitting them real well.
Yeah, well, I hate to break it to them, but Cleopatra was Macedonian.
Oh, that's right. She was. That's exactly right. She was not a Middle Eastern. She was Mediterranean. Anyway, I'm going to give Wonder Woman an 8, maybe an 8.5, because I loved it so much and I love those movies so much. I knock it down a little bit. I'd give it a 10. Except this one isn't quite as good as the first one. That it's just something about the story and the characters and the way they interacted in that first one, and the way, you know, she and Steve were so, or she and Chris Pine, who plays Steve, were so good together in that movie. And and I think it's a little long. So I'm going to say an 8.5, 8, 9. I loved it. I would watch it 5 times.
I gave the first one, I would have been an 8 on. This one, I'm a 6 on.
I probably would have given the first one a 10. I remember I went skipping out of the movie theater.
The first one I really, really enjoyed. This one I enjoyed. I just think it wasn't quite to the level that the first one was. So this one's a 6 for me.
Well, this is the other thing I'm hoping. I kind of hope that when COVID, you know, goes away, or at least is under control, and we can all go back to the movie theaters again, should they open up, that they might show this one again. And frankly, I'm looking forward to seeing the third one.
Yes.
On a big screen with big sound. And I hope that happens.
All right. So, that's our review of Wonder Woman 84. What were we going to do next week? Did we decide on Ma Rainey or Soul? Which one did you want to do next week?
Let's do Soul.
All right.
It's a little different.
Next Monday, we'll do Soul. And then after that, I guess we'll do Ma Rainey. We got a long list of movies that have started dropping. So next week, we'll do the Pixar film Soul. That's our show. And we're out.